What's up? Oh, never mind. Hello. I just realized I named the video incorrectly. That's okay. I can go back and rename it later. Also change the description. I said learning Rust. That's not true. I'm learning Scrypto. So, maybe. I'll fix it later. That's all right. I am learning Rust at the same time. So we're kind of doing both. All right. So my goal. Well, last time this is learning Scrypto Part 2 and learning Scrypto Part 1, I made this beautiful fixed price sale with royalty. Realized I needed to update this with this royalty. And we added a list of royalties. We have a struct up here with our recipient and our percentage. We know that a vault is a component that stores resources like XRD or swag token, etc. We know that an account is a component that has a map from resources to vaults. A bucket stores resources that are in transit. And then we have resim, which is our Radix engine simulator. So first thing that I need to do is update my Scrypto version. And I honestly don't know how to do that because I've never done it before. And so we are going to do that because I have resim 0.7 and I need resim 0.8. So I'm not seeing a function in here to update my resim. So we're going to need to do that. And I'm gonna open up my Discord and I'm gonna send a message or see if I can figure out how to do that, because I'd like to have the most recent version. Even though, granted, I haven't run any code yet. I've just written code. So, being honest, no idea if anything I wrote works, which I would like to resolve in this video session. I would like to test things. So, Radix, do it. Okay. Right, so in order to accomplish what I want, we are going to need to... So basically, let's first describe this. So we're going to instantiate a fixed price sale with a list of royalties. And so this is really nice, but what it doesn't do is it doesn't enforce a royalty, let's say, for example, for each of the NFTs. So let's say we want to bake a royalty into an NFT so that every time we transfer it, there's rules regarding its transfer and who must be paid when it is transferred. Now, there's a couple of pieces that go into that, and the first one I want to tackle is just, well, step one is we need to have data in the NFT that basically says here's the royalty information for that NFT so that we can actually pay out the NFT. The second part to that is limiting that NFT's sale or just transferring between accounts unless that transaction also includes payment, I guess you could say. Or like, let's say if that transaction includes payment, that a percentage of that payment goes to the individual or goes to the royalty holder. So obviously people could get around paying out the royalty just by running 2 transactions, I guess, but in a trustless environment, it's like, I guess I'm saying it's safe to assume that won't really happen, you know? Like, it's like you're so against paying the royalty that you're willing to send an individual the NFT without immediately receiving the tokens in return. And if you get scammed out of your NFT because you don't want to risk, you want that extra 3% or 5% or 1%, whatever that royalty baked into the NFT is, like that's your fault, dude. Like, sorry. But first, let's add some documentation. So we got royalties, vector royalties that would be paid out. Yep. GitHub Copilot. I really love it. Honestly, I really love GitHub Copilot. Okay. So we have our list of royalties. The first thing I want to do is figure out how to retrieve the royalty from the NFT. Because down here we added this loop through royalty percentages and pay out the royalties. So we're looping through each of the royalties and we're paying them out. But I need to be able to get the NFT metadata. So that is step numero uno. And no one has responded on how to update resim, so that's okay. We are going to go and look up potentially how to get NFT metadata. Let's see. So I'm already looking at what is Scrypto. I would love Radix technical docs. Search docs. NFT metadata. Let's see. Hello NFT, creating NFT units. Specifying the NFT metadata, initial supply. Okay. Staging a component, hello world. Complete structure function. Okay. So a resource builder, new fungible, that's not what we want. Well, we're at the end. Okay. Let's see, let's just search NFT. Is it creating NFT units? Tickets, new non-fungible, metadata, name, ticket, initial supply, letting people buy a ticket. XRD, taking a ticket from the available tickets vault. Yeah, we take one from the vault, we buy that ticket. Okay. That still isn't exactly what we want. How do it? Well, step one is how do I remember seeing how you add NFT metadata, but I don't remember. Unit of data stored on a digital ledger. NFTs can be associated with easily reproducible items such as, yes, okay. Nope, that's already there. Okay. It's just not big enough. Do I need to make you bigger? Nope, this search bar is just not pulling me through right now. Okay. Badges for authorization. Great. Visibility none. So they made a fungible that is non-fungible. Cool. Access rule. This is something someone told me to learn about, so I assume it's something good to know about. I still don't know. Update non-fungible data. Rule. Require admin badge resource address. No initial supply. So I guess this makes it so you can mint the NFT resource. Oh, my NFT data, XRD claimed. Okay, this is it. This is it, guys. We're here. This is auth.nonfungible. My screen just went black. Okay. Okay, so we claim XRD. We're providing authentication, or proof, in the form of a proof. We validate the proof in regards to self.nft resource, so this thing, resource address, which has a rule where it requires admin badge resource address. So this is our permissions. And let's see. So I guess this auth is getting back oh, it's interesting. Okay, let's see. Let's break it down logically. We're validating the proof for the self NFT resource. So I suppose we're validating the proof in accordance with the rule set here, where we're requiring that the individual has the admin badge resource. And if they do not, we deny all. So we have validated the proof in terms of the self NFT resource. So I guess we validated that we have the admin badge. I'm not sure what this expect does, but it's returning auth. So auth is equal to auth.validate. So that's kind of weird. I don't know if that, I would assume that that is overriding the auth variable here, or it is 100% possible that, quite simply, this is just incorrect. I don't know. I don't know. This is allowed in Rust. Maybe it's allowed in Rust? Perhaps? That I'm allowed to overwrite or shadow a variable that's in the parameter or in the function call. But assuming that this is okay, we get the NFT, so non-fungible is like auth.nonfungible. So I guess the auth, now that I've validated the proof, the NFT resource gives me back that NFT resource, and it has data type my NFT data. Okay. And we let the mutable NFT data, my NFT data is equal to NFT.data. Okay, that's straightforward. I like it. If NFT data.xrd claimed is true, so I assert that they haven't claimed, and if they have, we already say you've claimed your 10xrd. Then we do self.adminbadge.authorize this guy, and then we have that. What is that? That's probably a Rust thing that I don't understand, but we update data, NFT update data, NFT data xrd claimed is equal to true, NFT data. So I guess we are basically spreading all of the values that currently exist, and we're tacking on that the XRD claimed is true. We're overriding that value. And then we return self.vault take 10. So we take 10 from our vault. It's typically referred to as the NFT is a metadata. In addition to other relevant data, this non-fungible token also defines a Boolean field which stores whether this NFT has had its associated 10 XRD claimed or not. Ooh. Excuse me. When the caller tries to claim the 10 XRD, we check that they've supplied us with the NFT that we're expecting, and that they have not already claimed their 10 XRD. So that's, yeah, okay. So that's, I got that right. We check that they've supplied us with the NFT that we're expecting, and that they have not already claimed their 10 XRD. So I guess that's what this proof is doing, is that we're validating our account, and thus that we have this specific admin badge that was required. That's interesting. So I guess a vault can authorize things? That's weird. That's really weird. Huh. Okay. Well, there's that. Our vault can authorize things. So I am gonna go up over to the GitHub. And I'm actually going to, I was looking at this chatbot UI thing. And I'm going to sync this community Scrypto examples with what exists. Update branch. So that I can do git. Oh. Rock, paper, scissors. That added a lot. Okay, that's 2 big commits. Okay. Alright, so I suppose what needs to happen then that's actually, oh, I don't know if this will actually work. Now I'm thinking about it. Because this lets us list for sale like multiple tokens. And the royalty idea really only works if I'm selling one NFT. Because if I'm selling 2 NFTs, then like who's to say that I'm buying, like I can't really split that 50-50 and be like, oh yeah, 100% I'm buying that because they had like, well, I guess let's just say that if I have one NFT that's worth like $1 million in there and another NFT that's worth 1,000, I think it's reasonable to say that you wouldn't expect the built-in royalty to one of the NFTs, let's say like the one that's worth 1,000, to get the percentage of the entire sale. And so because we're kind of bundling or grouping all of these together, all these NFTs together, we can't really actually say like, oh yeah, this NFT creator is supposed to get this percentage of the total amount. This NFT creator is supposed to get this percentage of the total amount. It just doesn't actually work. So in an auction setting where I'm selling multiple NFTs, potentially multiple NFTs at the same time, my idea of embedding a royalty into the NFT itself doesn't actually work. So there's that. That's interesting. Now on a one-on-one, like if I'm just listing one NFT for sale, and if I only had one non-fungible token in here, that would totally work, and that'd be totally fine. So maybe that's an if statement that I could use. So if we have exactly one NFT, then we handle that NFT's royalties. Otherwise, we can assume that the royalty amount will be in the list of provided royalties. So total royalties paid. If the NFT, if there is only one NFT, that, I mean, GitHub Copilot is trying. I don't think this is. I should say if there's only one type of NFT. then we can check if it has a royalty percentage and pay out the royalty. So how'd that work? So we got NFT vaults, yep. If NFT vaults length is equal to 1, royalty is equal to option, royalty. That looks complex, I'm not quite sure that's right. Get up Bowser's kind of throwing some stuff out here. Let some royalty be equal to royalty. So if the royalty exists, I'm going to assume that this option means it's optional and that this if is there to unwrap it. We can do the royalty percent times self.price. We can do all that goodness. So self NFT vaults .keys .next .unwrap. Yeah, I doubt that's right. Well, maybe. I have NFT vaults. I'm getting the first one. I'm unwrapping it and I'm cloning it. I'm not sure why I'm doing that. This is interesting syntax that I've never seen before. Is this like a lambda function? Huh. Okay. So being 100% honest, I'm not sure how to get the NFT data. So I know that it existed over here and that we could get the NFT data this way. But this is a weird way to get the NFT. It's like, it's a non-fungible type. So I guess my question would be, can I get the non-fungible type from a vault? Let's see, I search vault. Yes, they have vault.authorize. That's interesting. Well, this is 0.4 and they're on 0.8, so let's see. Borrow resource manager. I can create a proof. Oh, vault.nonfungible. Okay. Vault.nonfungible.data. Not what I wanted. Here, bud. Hop out. Okay. And if we go back, right, so I can do vault.nonfungible. And my guess is that what this means is that auth is a vault. And auth is used, I guess vaults are used to authorize. Maybe authorize your access to a vault. Weird. It's really weird. I wonder what the flow of data is there. That's kind of weird to me. Okay. So, let's see. So I'm going to assume that auth is a vault, and that I can call the non-fungible function on a vault. So what I basically need to know is how to get the first item in the vector that I was provided with in Rust. So Rust get first item in a vector, in a vec. And I don't know if vec is a Rust thing. Or if is this Rust? Yeah. And this was from 2016, so I don't think that's right. This is old. I'm gonna look somewhere else. So I can get first, and I have keys.next. Is there a vec docs? Okay, so we got vec new. We can push 1, push 2, so it can grow. So that's good to know. It functions like a vector does in C++, I suppose. You can create it from another list. Looks like I can access it just using, I can set it. So I'm going to assume I can get values from it as well. Let's see. This is Sterling Learning Rust. So I'm not gonna unwrap and clone this. I don't see any reason to do that. I just need to get the first item. And so that is our NFT vaults, and we're getting the first item. And we know that there's only one item because we checked the length, made sure that it was 1. Cool. So we're gonna do non-fungible. Dot data. So this is where things get a little bit interesting. Now, I guess the question that I have then is, in Rust, can a struct follow an interface? Because if it can't, then all of our hopes and dreams are effectively dashed. A specific FN interface. I don't know what FN means, but FN. That I want to make callable like a function. I don't need this to be templated on args and output like the FN trait, since I want to define what types the args and return type will be. When I attempt this, my code doesn't compile. Pub trait struct concrete. Means trait requires other trait to be implemented. So this line basically means for every type implementing action, compiler, please check that it will implement. That's it, only check. Okay. You must implement at least one FN once. I'm going to assume, yeah, FN is a function. Right? FN. Okay. So the only thing you can do here is to switch from action to using FN traits directly. Possibly leaving action as a methodless marker trait like this. Okay. So in Rust I can have actions and bool for okay, so for is how I let it know that I am doing cool things. FN1's action args for concrete. Is he implementing it twice? This blanket implementation makes action available on every function like okay, that's I don't know Rust well enough. How to handle structs with the same interface. Oh, okay. This is the official docs. Do I trust it? Oh, it's not the official docs. Official website. That's what I'm asking a question. For text parsing, they have in common the error type. Type with the message attribute. Now, after importing them in main function, I like to render the errors from both parsers. Actually the same but at different types followed by module name. Can I solve it in some decent way? Do I need some third-party library? Very simplified code. I need to understand this syntax. I don't know what it's doing. It looks like it's passing event in as a function to a lambda, so I assume this is a lambda function, but it looks weird for a lambda function. Use a trait object or an enum. Okay, so we need to understand these trait objects. Looks like enum might have a different. All right. Rest trait object. What are you? Time for some notes. Trait object. What are you? Trait object. They store construct elements of only one type. We create a workaround in listing 8 through 9 where we define a spreadsheet cell, enum, that had variants to hold integers, floats, and text. Okay, yeah, well, what the flip? An enum that's holding integers, floats, and text? Fearless concurrency. You use message passing to transfer data between threads. Shared state concurrency, extensible concurrency with the sync and send traits. Okay. To implement the behavior we want we to have, we'll define a trait named draw that will have one method named draw. Then we can define a vector that takes a trait object. A trait object points to both an instance type, implementing our specific trait, and a table used to look up trait methods on that runtime type. Type at runtime, excuse me. We create a trait object by. Okay, so you could probably say that the non-fungible is a trait object because it has. So a trait object then is something with this T. Then keyword and then specifying the relevant trait. Vector of boxes with the dynamic draw. Okay, we're gonna have to go to something a bit simpler. We're in listing 8 through 9 where we define a spreadsheet cell. Traits, defining shared behavior. Alright. Traits are similar to a feature often called interfaces in a language, although with some differences. Yep. Okay, that's what I thought. Type's behavior consists of the methods we can call on that type. Different types share the same behavior. Okay. I'm just gonna save this link. I like to keep track of where I go, or I will be lost. Lost forever. Okay. Okay. Abstract news article. Implementing a trait on a type. Now that we've defined a desired signatures for the summary traits method. What? This feels backwards. So they're implementing summary for the news article. What does that mean? We can implement it on the types in our media aggregator. Listing 10 through 13 shows an implementation of the summary trait. On the news article struct that uses the headline, the author, and the location to create the return value of summarize. For the tweet struct, we define summarize as the username followed by the entire text of the tweet. Within the info block, okay, so my guess is that what this is saying then is it's basically like appending that information to the function itself. That's weird. That's really weird. I don't know why it would do that. But it allows for fragmentation of classes pretty well. So like, generally when this would be called an extension in a lot of other languages. But the way that they do it is that every trait is an extension. Huh. Okay. So I'm implementing summary on news article, and then I give my summary implementation. That's it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Gotta be organized with how you do this, though, otherwise you're gonna lose implementations of things that you make for a struct of some kind. Now, I guess the question is... in the beautiful decentralized ecosystem of Radix, if I want to have an interface, or a trait, I guess I should say, on an NFT, and I can just check and see if the NFT metadata follows or implements a trait. Can I do that? Can I see if a struct implements a trait? So I can have default implementations as long as it's defined by a trait. Got it. Listing 1014. That's okay. Okay. Default implementations can call another function. Cool. Traits as parameters. So I can do that. Alright, now that you know how to define and implement traits, we can explore how to use traits to define functions that accept many different types. We use the summary trait we implemented on the news article and tweet types to define a notify function that calls the summarize method on its items parameter, which is of some type that implements the summary trait. To do this, we can use the impl trait syntax. Okay, so we have the ampersand. Is the ampersand in Rust the same as unwrapping, like a pointer? Or making... Are we passing it? Is it saying pass it by reference? Is that what that ampersand is saying? Or pass by value? Maybe it's always a pass by value unless you specifically say to pass by reference. This parameter accepts any type that implements the specified trait. Body of notify, we can call any methods on item that come from the summary trait, such as summarize. We can call notify and pass in any instance of news article or tweet. Code that calls the function with any other type, because those types don't implement summary. Okay, that makes sense. Works for straightforward cases, but is actually syntax sugar for a longer form known as trait bound. It looks like this. Interesting. And that makes sense. So you're specifying a dynamic type, summary, and then you're passing it by reference. Trait bound syntax. I'm going to copy some of this code. I'm going to copy you. We have an example of a trait. Generic type T. Oh, we can have more than one trait bound. So you want to notify to use display formatting as well as summarize. So we can say that we need summary and display. Cool. Okay. That's pretty cool. I can get behind that. Save that. Generic type parameters can contain lots of trait bound information between the function's name and its parameter list. let's add a where clause after the function signature. So instead of writing this, we can use a where clause. Okay, basically, so you can just clean up crap. So you know what T and U are, you can where crap. Okay. Simple summary. So I can return types. Oh, so this isn't allowed? Oh, okay. That's not what I would have expected. But I don't really care about that right now. So I can use variables with numbers. Okay. So they did all of this, but they didn't tell me how to check and see if a given object implemented a trait. Oh boy, my brain is foggy. How would I do that? How would I check and see Rust? So to see if a struct implements a trait. Okay, so it's not possible, nor is it expected to be possible, but that was in 2015. Okay. Why are all these answers so old? That's weird. I've heard a lot of people talk good stuff about Rust. Okay, however, it's a pretty weird requirement. One doesn't usually check whether or not a trait is implemented. Really? What? Why would I? Implement a method of that trait with different concrete behaviors. Just implement a method of that trait with different concrete behaviors for different types. Incidentally, that's weird. Okay, so I can't ensure that NFT data received is of a specific type. Or has a specific field or anything of that nature. There's gotta be a way. There has to be a way. How does it hurt modularity? It violates encapsulation and hurts modularity. I would love for him to expound on this statement. It's like if I just get back a blob, and I would love to know if the blob satisfies some constraints. How would I do that in Rust? Sterling is learning. Okay, so I'm obviously doing something wrong because everyone is saying that I'm doing things wrong. What is RTTI? Runtime type information. Okay. Alright, so runtime type information. It does not exist in Rust. That is good to know. I've never worked with a language that didn't have RTTI. Alright. Okay, so we're gonna have to find another way to do what I want to do. What's this XY problem? So I guess my entire problem is a Y problem. So all of these people are talking about doing different things, but so I'm getting back arbitrary data from an NFT. I want to be able to do something with it, and I have no idea how to do that. Like, I want to enforce a specific type of data. Ah, C has no concept of methods. How does the translate the field names into offsets from the pointer to start? And if you don't ask, is this it? Is this box didn't rate? Okay, Rust. What does the ampersand mean? Okay. So I'm passing in a reference to the object. Okay, I mean, that makes sense. So I'm passing a reference. And if I do ampersand mute, I assume it's passing in the object itself so that I can change it. I could unwrap the reference and create a mutable object. But I would guess that that's something that is frowned upon, or potentially not possible. So my guess is that this beautiful line of code there is what I want. We have box, din, trait. Fat pointer. Love that name. So, taking everything that we have learned and saying that we have a trait, royalty. Can a trait have properties and not just functions? That's another question. Quest, can a trait have properties and not just functions? Type item. Okay, so I can have, maybe not. Hold on. What is item? This item is a type. Okay. And so basically you're determining an iterator that returns an item of a specific type. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna define a type. And that's how I make an object. It doesn't look like traits. Interesting. So I can have multiple implementations of the exact same function, but it's likely stored in a different place in memory, and so I call it differently. So I do pilot fly and I pass in the reference to my object, and it's happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to make the assumption that I cannot pass in a property into a trait. I'm going to say assume that traits are just for functions. Let's ask ChatGPT. Can a trait in Rust contain properties / variables? All right. Or by implementing a trait for a type that already contains properties or variables. Here's an example of using associated types. Huh. Yeah, that's not what I want. Okay. Let's see. So Rust. How do enums work in Rust? colon matched here. Let's say you do a switch statement then. Oh, what the? Enums can also have associated data. Okay. So I can tie data to an enum. How does it know its width and height? I guess because it has two values, it just passes in one for width and one for height. Join as associated data. Find an area that calculates. So float F64, I'm going to assume is a float 64, so I can associate a specific kind of information to that. Weird. That's super weird. I've never seen that before. Good old Rust. Enums in Rust are powerful and versatile, allowing to express complex data structures and state handling in a type, safe, and ergonomic manner. I see that. I definitely see that. That's very cool. I've never seen a language in which you could define multiple data types for an enum. I could definitely see the value of that. Excuse me, but it's still not what I want. Gosh dang. I am receiving. So if I want to check that an object has a specific property in Rust, how would I do that? Okay. All right. All right, so I guess the last question I have then would be, so I can do it assuming that I can store a struct on an NFT that implements my function. I don't know if I can do that. So probably look. Oh. I don't think I want to do that. Okay. What's the default data type of values in a Okay. Good to know. Oh, Rust is interesting. What does it is a macro and not a regular function. Macros in Rust are a way to define reusable chunks of code that can be invoked in a similar way to functions but are expanded at compile time. What? Reusable chunks of code that can be invoked in a similar way to functions. Okay. Similar to a function but expanded at compile time. Can result in better performance as the generated code is often inlined and optimized. Printline is a macro provided by the Rust standard library for printing of formatted strings to the console, followed by a new line. Format macro for specifying the format string and arguments. Time format, string checking, and code generation. Okay, so it's basically saying it's going to generate code at compile time that will allow it to run code like this. And if you don't need that code elsewhere, like let's say that I don't have another age parameter and I just have name, it wouldn't need to generate the additional print line function that lets me print a function that is a string and 2 additional parameters, likely of these different types. Because I'd have to make another function of name, like let's say age was a string instead of like a static string instead of an integer. It would have to create a different function for that as well because it's statically typed. So that's very interesting. And because it can't check for the type of data at runtime. So it needs to effectively create a different function for every single type of input it could possibly receive. And that's what a macro does. So that's good to know. Let me write that down. Macro. Used. Exclamation point. Used to define a function will be generated at compile time, like print line. This is necessary to create different versions of that function. To handle all of the different inputs. Okay. So we've got macros. Why is there an ampersand here? Okay, yeah. It says ampersand is just always going to be a reference. Okay. string slice. Designate. So ampersand is used to designate references to objects and not the objects themselves. So I'm gonna guess that I can't unwrap. Let's see. I can run. You can unwrap it to get the underlying mutable object. You can't unwrap it, okay. The Rust borrow checker ensures that the rules for your references are upheld. Ah, okay. Indicates that you have a unique reference to the data which allows you to modify it safely. That's good to know. That's how they're able to ensure concurrency. That you can run multiple threads and not have any problems. Because it enforces one mutable thing. Wow. An immutable reference to a called numref. We can modify the underlying data through numref using the dereference operator. Okay. The underlying value of num will be updated as well. Okay. I32, integer 32. Yeah, makes sense. So, do I always have to unwrap? Let's see. Let us check. Oh, I see what this is doing now. Well, at least I see something what it's doing. This is totally wrong. I just want to get the... first NFT. Okay. So these are macros. And that makes sense because they have to create those at compile time. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. What does the syntax mean here? I think it's a lambda function. Element in the iterator. Does it return something? Okay. anonymous function. Takes the closure as an argument. Okay. The any method tests if any element in the iterator satisfies its predicate, which is true if at least one element does or false otherwise. Closure. As you mentioned, represents each element in the iterator. The closure matches an expression using the matches macro. It returns a Boolean value. Okay, matches. Right. But it was checking for not matches. Any method will use the result of this closure for each element in the iterator to determine if any of them satisfy the given predicate. Here's a simplified example to illustrate the concept. Okay. Closure. Lambda. Does that make sense? I guess vector, vec, is also a macro. Back to traits. If I have a vec, din, let's see. Okay, that makes sense. Trait objects and rest require interaction, such as a reference or a pointer, because their size is not known at compile time. Oh, that's what box is. Okay, box is a thing. All right. So box is a fat pointer. Oh, I love that. I thought box was a fat pointer. Everything from that Reddit thread makes so much more sense. I'm probably gonna be done soon. This was mostly just me learning Rust, so the video name is actually pretty apt. Alright, so we have a box, which is a fat pointer, and must be used because trait objects are stored as a reference or behind some kind of smart pointer like box or RC. Objects where the size of the object is not known at runtime. Alright. I think I'm getting there. I think my brain's getting there. Now I guess the question is, can I use box in Rust? Oh, we'll have to see. Like, let's see. Box. No, not what I wanted. Okay, nope. Which means box doesn't appear anywhere. Okay, well, I'm gonna ask a couple of questions in here. Can I use boxed in tray to ensure that NFT metadata? Oh, that's a question. That's a question. Can a struct have a function? Well, that's a stupid question, actually. I know that they can implement functions, and so we can have an object with functions on top of it. So literally doing it right there. I think we're okay. All right. Can I use box to, let's see, but in Scrypto? Can I use boxed in tray to ensure that NFT metadata? Let's go back to my codes. So we got the NFT, non-fungible. Non-fungible box bin. I can do let NFT data. Oh, equal to NFT data. Sorry, you can't see this. Is probably kind of boring, but I don't want to show you my entire Discord. So here we are. I'm typing up. I'm typing up a very simple, well, just some code to just ask in the Scrypto chat, Scrypto Rust beginners. See if I can do things like this. See if I can, instead of having my NFT data as it's listed here, use a box dynamic trait to do what I want. Scrypto allow. Okay, and that is that. So, thank you so much for joining me, Striver. It's been a long video. I learned a lot. Realized, I need to improve my foundation in the Rust and determine how it actually works. And it's pretty close to C, but I've never used C. But it was still pretty dang good. I'm glad I went back and I'm glad I learned it. Macros, the ampersand functioned as I expected it would. Traits, enums. Rust enums are pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Not sure, these components that need to work with structs, like NFT data, NFT metadata, different types, they get kind of interesting. So I really hope that I can actually use this box dynamic trait thing to get my NFT metadata and do things with it. Because if I can't, well, that kind of stinks. Your component is forced to work with an NFT of one specific type. And so you can't create an NFT that can function across multiple components that require different kinds of data in the NFT. Granted, there's ways to work around that using layer 2s and stuff like that, and passing data into the function that the NFT needs to have and have available, but who wants to go that far, right? So basically it'd be super awesome if I have the ability to dynamically check and see if an NFT implements my function, which, based on everything I just read, is actually impossible in Rust. So perhaps what I am wanting is an impossibility. Darn it. Because all types must be known at compile time. And so validating a data type, according to the guide, destroys encapsulation and prevents modularity, which I find incredibly interesting. What a weird statement. I guess it does. It does prevent modularity, but it makes a lot of sense to be able to just have an object that follows a pattern based on a trait that you can run functions on, that you can accept, and you're only accepting objects that follow that pattern. That I don't fully understand the word encapsulation in that sentence. What are we trying to encapsulate? Ensure that our objects and structs don't overlap in some way? I don't know. So there has to be a way to resolve it. Maybe enums is the answer. I don't know. I'm not sure. I doubt that I can store an enum as an NFT data in Scrypto. Oh, but it would be nice. Oh, excuse me. It would be nice to determine if I can get data dynamically from a trait, from a struct, and see if, depending on the information that struct contains and the functions that it has. That would be nice. Perhaps difficult. But I don't think it'll be impossible. some kind of assert, right? Because if I can pass in this nice little pointer, this box of dynamic trait, the fat pointer that doesn't care about the size of the underlying object, then I don't really care. Like I can see, thinking of it in like the bytes. If I'm looking through the specific bytes of an object and I'm looking for a function definition, I want to run that function definition. I'm looking for a reference to a function definition within my object. How would I map that? That's an interesting problem. I've never thought about it before. How do I map that? And what kind of vulnerabilities does that introduce? Like, how do I know that I found the function definition for my specific traits function? Especially if my struct can implement multiple traits that have the same function name. I don't know how Rust fragments the data and how it creates references. Ooh, okay, that's deeper than my brain's willing to go right now. But thank you. I accomplished my goal of studying Scrypto and I guess mainly Rust for an hour and a half today. Thanks so much for hopping on. Have a wonderful Thursday.